Hello, and my name is Pete Rushmer, and I'm your host today of A Half Dozen Things podcast. A Half Dozen Things is a podcast for business owners just like you. Whether you're an underdog hungry for success, or you're already smashing it but want to continue to level up, we are here each week for you to get insight and learning from the very best in the business. No fluff, no BS, and no self-proclaimed gurus talking about how easy business or life is.
Hello, and welcome to A Half Dozen Things podcast. It says I'm live, but actually I'm not live today. I'm just recording the podcast. So I just had a panic a moment then, but the red light's rolling. And here I am to talk to you about why am I worried about your business and the upcoming World Cup. So we've had some real challenges in recent times in our businesses. Lots and lots of things have been happening. Fuel and AdBlue, inflating costs, access issues, shortages. We've had increasing wages, and the pays and that kind of thing has inflated hugely over the past 12 to 18 months. We've had some legislative changes that have impacted us with Brexit and COVID and those sorts of challenges. I mean, we're in a world of real economical and political instability at the moment with inflation, and we've got a revolving door at number 10 at the moment. As I record this, and it will date the podcast, but as I record this, Liz Truss has just handed in her resignation, and there's even a possibility of Boris coming back. So who knows? By the time this goes out, Boris might be back in charge, I suppose. At the moment, it looks like it's between him and Rishi, but we'll have to see what happens. So access to labour's reduced. We've had Brexit. This year alone, we've had two additional bank holidays to consider. And one of the things that's just up the track that I think I've not heard a lot of people talking about, and that's the World Cup. It's coming up, starts mid-November, and it's going to run through right up until a few days before Christmas. So it's going to have a big impact, I think, in your business and in a lot of transport and logistic type businesses, which is our busiest time of year as well. So it's a real tricky situation. So what brought this to light was I recently joined the Chartered Institute for Logistics and Transport, and I've joined the Safety Forum, and we were talking about that. We've been preparing the Safety Forum. We've been preparing for our annual conference, which is coming up on the 8th of November, Tuesday, the 8th of November. If you haven't signed up, please do take a look and get signed up. It's at Northants Saints Rugby Stadium, and Flagship. I'll be exhibiting there with Flagship. There's a few other businesses there, and we're going to have some guest speakers, and we're going to be talking about the challenges that we face in a changing world, which is really topical. And one of the conversations that we got on to during the preparation for the conference was around the World Cup and what are people doing proactively to plan for those challenges that they face. So certainly I know that in my small business, I know in comparison to a lot of the listeners, we've got a relatively small business, but just the additional bank holidays this year have really posed a bit of a challenge as to what the right thing to do is. Whilst our contracts might state one thing, the right thing to do is and can be another thing. So it's very difficult to know what the right thing to do is sometimes, and what popular opinion's going to be. It's a tricky thing. So certainly we'll take some reflection and certainly addressing. Anyway, so upcoming, we've got that Safety Forum conference for people who are listening to think about coming and attending. I really do think there's a few spaces left, and if you want to come and join us, I really recommend that as a great event to come to. The other thing that I've got coming up at the beginning of November is the Road to Transport Manager Wellbeing webinar. I'm hosting it with a previous guest of the podcast, actually, Jonathan Pitton. He's been on a couple of times. He's a mental health educator, and Jonathan's absolutely fantastic and likes to live in the real world when we talk about mental health. And he's very realistic with some of the suggestions and advice that he gives around companies addressing mental health and well-being in the workplace, as well as I quite like his stance on trying to demedicalise, particularly in workplaces, demedicalise the language we use around mental health. and how we talk about well-being and how we support people in their roles. So, and we're going to be focusing about the road to transport manager well-being is we're going to be focused on workplace well-being and what that looks like, how we promote promote well-being, how we look to reduce stress and the stress we cause our workers. And in particular, we're going to be looking at that transport manager role, which is a particular challenge for operators, because the transport manager is often the linchpin of the whole operation.
Hi, it's Pete from Flagship Partners. We're proud to sponsor a Half Dozen Things podcast. Flagship Partners help their clients become safer, greener, and greater through a range of consultancy and training services. We offer audits through to risk assessments, contracts through to support with managing your culture, all the way from mandatory training through to management training as well. So if you need any support, please do get in touch with Flagship Partners today.
It's often very difficult for them to take holiday. It's often very difficult for them to even have a full night's sleep. You know, we were talking earlier, I was recording a podcast for Fleet Geeks with Mike, and we were talking about how, you know, transport managers are often getting called at 4 or 5 in the morning with a defect. Is this okay to take out on the road? So all the time, potentially 24 hours a day, transport managers can be available, and that's going to have an impact on their well-being. So we're going to be doing that webinar. It's on the 3rd of November, that is, and again, it's available on the Chartered Institute's website. So please do go and hit that up and come and watch that, because that's going to be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to having a good chat with Jonathan, and we're going to field some Q&A questions from the audience. So that's going to be great fun. But with the backdrop recently of Operation London Bridge, which was for the Queen's State funeral, which I must say they did an absolutely fantastic job. It was so well planned and detailed in its planning, and so well executed, that it really was a sight to behold. And I feel deeply proud to be British, and how much of a fantastic job everyone did in executing that. And as I sort of think about that as from a planning perspective, from an execution point of view, really need to sort of apply that thinking to the upcoming World Cup, for example, in your business. Because some people, and I think this isn't the solution, some people will just ignore it and hope it'll be all right on the night, sort of thing. And I actually don't think that's going to be the case this time around. I think, along with all of the other challenges that we've got at the moment, I think it's going to be quite tricky to operate effectively. And I know a lot of our customers, end of November, December is absolutely their busiest time of year. And if we think about that sort of mix of factors during a World Cup period, and usually we're used to having a World Cup in the summer, it's often away from festive periods and that kind of thing. And often people will book holiday and they will take time away from the business. However, at that time of year, during November, December, it's very unlikely that we're going to be keen to allow large portions of the business to go on holiday, particularly at a very, very challenging operational time anyway. So we look at that mix of, people, alcohol, football, cultural challenges and confrontations potentially between, I don't know what the fixture lists look like, but there might be some challenges in your business around some cultural clashes there. People are working often long hours at that period, particularly to make sure that we can make sure that we sustain all of our commitments in our business. It's not really a period for people taking holidays. A lot of people will have used up their annual leave entitlement before November time, because they will have used them during the summer, a traditional time for people to take holiday. So we've kind of got this melting pot that will lead to potentially unplanned absence, which is going to cause you an issue. With unplanned absence, people are going to let you down, and that's potentially a best case scenario. What about if people are turning up to work tired, and they're still a bit pissed from the night before? What an absolute disaster that's going to be. So we've got games with a range of kickoff times from morning through till the evening, with it being in Qatar. So we've got a big range of games, certainly even on weekdays. I know later on in the year, later on in the tournament, they're going to be more towards the weekend. However, a lot of you are going to be operating 24/7 sort of that period because it's so busy for Christmas. So I'm really imploring you now to have a think about what you can do proactively, how you can manage the World Cup games, in particular the England games. But that you're going to have a diverse workforce, so there might be other games of particular interest in your business. And really think about how you're going to proactively manage those. Are you going to allow people time off to watch them? Are you going to set screens up at work? Are you going to make sure you double down on your DNA policy and make sure that you're checking drugs and alcohol, because you don't want people going to parties at that time of the year and then getting in their vehicles and driving. So there's lots and lots for you to think about as the World Cup comes upon us. So the purpose of this podcast is just a quick one. It's something that came to my mind this week, and I just thought I wanted to share it with people for them to think about, because I know it's going to have crept up on us. It's a very unusual time for the World Cup to take place, and a particularly challenging one, along with all of the other challenges that we're facing just now. So I'm interested to know. Drop some comments. Subscribe and drop some comments. Let me know, how are you managing the World Cup? What are you doing? And share the best practice and see what other companies are getting on with and how they're going to manage that process. But there's one thing that you mustn't do, and that's ignore it and hope that it's going to go away, because I think that's going to end up with some real challenges around people's safety and well-being whilst they're working. So anyway, see you all on the next one, and take care. Bye-bye.
I really hope you loved today's episode, and if you did, please make sure you subscribe and listen out for future episodes too. Please do share it across your social media channels. We hope to reach more and help more people. If you want to find out more about me, my name's Pete Rushmer. You'll find me across any social media channel, and my business, Flagship Partners, and we're your partners in success across your business. Thank you. See you again soon.